Hey, what's good? IG, YouTube, and all the other places. I'm going live here with my love, Lissa. She is back home in Las Vegas. I'm up here in Southern Oregon, and we're getting stuff together around the property. And we wanted to go live to talk a little bit about the importance of our self-care Sundays. I'm not sure if you guys do a self-care Sunday, kind of a routine, but that's definitely something that we've been really loving, and I really have been missing it in a lot of ways because the last, let's see, well, 2 Sundays ago, we did do slightly like a self-care Sunday. We were doing kind of a little ceremony, spreading my parents' ashes. Both my parents passed away this year. Last Sunday, there was no self-care Sunday, and I'm definitely missing that. But let's get Lissa in here. We'll ask her some questions about what kind of like that. Yeah, definitely life-changing in so many ways. You know, at least getting out into nature and doing something of the, along those lines. Hey, babe.
Hey, babe, I love you.
Oh, I
I miss
love you
you.
too. You look so good. You got the hair straight.
I do.
Ah,
Yeah.
looks so nice. Looks so nice.
Thank
Let me
you.
see. I'm going to turn my volume up here. I might need to. I can hear you okay, I feel like.
Oh,
I might
okay.
need to grab the headphones if I can't hear you. I'm going to keep the chat so I can see it here. So if you guys are listening in, have any questions or whatever, of course you can chime in. But let's get into this and let's talk about our self-care Sunday practice and how important it is and what you think adopting something like that can actually do for us.
Thanks, babe, for inviting me on your live. I miss you, and I miss our
Miss you
self-care
too.
Sundays
I
too.
know. My
I,
gosh, me too.
when we first started doing it, it was like, the first couple weeks was like we're motivated and it was new and stuff. And then as we started doing it more often, I noticed like even my body is like craving having
Yes.
those days. Just like, we don't go like off grid where we're not on the phones. Like we film and we have fun. We take pictures of the food we take. And it's like, in a way, it's like our date day
Yeah.
where we get to spend more time together. and
Right.
but like, I love how we wanted to do the 52-week hike challenge, and that's kind of where self-care Sunday started for us.
Mm-hmm.
Was the 52-week challenge
Yeah.
in 2023. So January 2023, we're like, okay, let's try and do this. Every week go on a different hike, and the rules loosely were it should be 3 miles, and it has to be a different hike than you've done for the rest of the hikes, right? It always has to be a new one, something different. And it was so cool because we found so many trails that we probably wouldn't have gone on, like Sandstone Quarry. We've done that hike now so many times. We took Ted, we took Jonah, you took Jacob. We've been on it a few times. And we never, that was one of those ones that were like, like it wasn't on the map of ones that we really like wanted to do. So because we were like, we had to find a new hike, we're like, well, we haven't done that one yet, so let's do that one. And it's become one of our favorite hikes.
It's the best. That's definitely one of my favorites. And so I know when we were talking about doing this 52 hike, so basically what we do is we do a hike, like Lissa was saying, every Sunday somewhere. Pick a trail. There's an app called All Trails. And I know there's some other apps out there too, like some people use Strava to like, track their bike rides, their runs, and sort of, these sorts of things. But All Trails is really cool because you can just type your location and it'll pull up all the trails having to do with either like, backpacking or mountain biking or hiking, running, these sorts of things you can actually put in what you prefer. And it pulls up all these trails so you see how many trails are actually around you. But the one thing that I remember too, babe, is we were like talking like, okay, what qualifies a self-care Sunday hike? And does it have to be in nature?
Right.
Yeah. So
So
maybe you can
I,
touch
I
on that.
gonna type something in the chat, but I'll finish that in a sec. For those ones, like I remember when we went to Disneyland
Mm-hmm.
with my cousin, and it was a Sunday, and we were walking all around Disneyland. I was like, this is kind of, in a way, a hike because you're walking and you're spending time with each other. And I personally thought that it was a great one to count because, like I said, we're spending time with each other, we're moving. And so like when I say loose rules, it's you got to do what works best for you. And so it doesn't always have to be on a Sunday. Like for some people, maybe their day off is Wednesday, and that's their day that they schedule their self-care day. And sometimes we can't do a Sunday. Sometimes we need to be doing something else or what have you. So we'll do it on a Saturday, or we'll do it on a Tuesday or something. Like we try to make up for it by having it, because it's so like I said, like we crave it, we want it, we want that time. And even with you being in Oregon, I edited today my what I eat in a day video of my self-care Sunday that I did myself.
Nice.
So I'm going to post that right after our live. And that self-care Sunday, I chose to walk myself to the Springs Preserve here in Las Vegas.
That's right.
And it's an hour and a half walk from home, and then it's an hour and a half walk back. So it's a lot of walking, but I personally considered that my hike, my self-care Sunday, because it's so much more than just the hike. It's
Absolutely.
waking up and, sleeping in, or doing your meditation, or doing yoga, or things that you don't normally do during the week because things are busy or what have you. And planning for the specific day, that's another thing that we can talk about, is planning for our self-care Sunday, so it's like super easy and nice. And after we get home, we always have our absolute favorite salad in the whole entire world, the tahini dill one, and we watch a show that we love. I like to do my skincare, a full-on routine.
Yeah.
So or we go to the hot tub too. Like we do almost all of our absolute favorite things in that day. So it becomes such a day that we really look forward to.
Man, so true, so true. Yeah, Frugivore Runner says here, wearing a weighted vest maybe in a park even counts. Absolutely, something like that. Yeah, doing something outside. I mean, self-care Sunday realistically could be whatever you want. Like Liz is saying, something that you love to do, something that maybe you're not doing throughout the week, like washing your face. Guys, like wash your face out there, because I know some of us, we don't necessarily wash our face every single day. Putting on some moisturizer, some of these sorts of things. That, I mean, sometimes I don't do that at all throughout the week. I definitely would like to get better, because when I was actually having a nice facial routine throughout the week, I could really feel the difference. But at least on Sunday, right? So it's so interesting how these little things can play into just making a great day, right? And yeah, I absolutely love I mean, the hikes especially, because where we're at, and some of you guys tuning in might be in the same area where you're not necessarily near anything in nature. Like here in Oregon, I just had to drive just really, really close to get to some amazing trails. Lisa and I, of course, like downtown Las Vegas, unless we want to drive somewhere that's at least 30 minutes to 40 minutes to get on some really nice nature trails, we're walking in the city. So for us, it is so important to get out every single Sunday, because we crave to be in nature. And of course, there's parks. We could definitely explore more parks in Vegas. We haven't explored too many, but yeah, maybe you could touch upon the facial routine and the importance of that. Like I said, especially for guys, because a lot of times guys just take a shower. Like I just took a quick shower because I was sticky from this morning's ride, and we've been working around the property, and I'm like, before this live, I want to take a quick shower. And I didn't wash my face. I mean, of course I washed my face in the shower, but I didn't moisturize afterwards. And it's interesting how we don't necessarily do that as guys, especially. I feel like women, of course, are a lot more proactive with a facial care routine.
Yeah, the good thing you brought that up. Like I've noticed when I don't do it, I just don't feel the same. And it's not that I'm like, a lot of people do their face care routine because they're like so desperate to be younger, or, all those reasons why some people do it. I like to do it because I just love the whole process of it. Like I like, the scrubbing and the massaging and just taking the time to like massage, and then you feel so good after. Like you feel clean, your face is nice and clean. And yeah, and plus you look more hydrated, and you look like, when you have like layers of dead cells and stuff, and it doesn't matter what products you use, like even if it's just like a homemade sugar scrub or something, as long as you take the time to care for your skin, it can love you back because it
Yeah, and
just
then
feels so
that
good.
rubbing, just rubbing your face, of course, getting blood flowing, and that's something that we don't necessarily do on a daily basis. So at least once a week is a good thing to do, right? The self-care Sunday. So
Mhm.
yeah, maybe you could touch upon like how we may plan for our self-care Sunday.
Yes, good one. Yeah, so Self Care Sunday, usually we plan Friday for Self Care Sunday because we have to know where we're going to go for our hike, what we're going to do. There was like a couple Self Care Sundays in there that we had tickets to go see, like a show as
Yeah.
well here in Las Vegas because it's so awesome that there are shows.
Hmm.
So we try to like fit in our hike before the show. But in order to do those kinds of days, you have to plan for them. So we like to start planning on Friday night because then if we're going on a longer hike, or if we have to drive, like say we're going to go to like um, Death Valley, or we're going to go to Cathedral Gorge, or we're going to go to Valley of Fire even, or somewhere that like is a lot longer of a drive, or even Zion,
Mm.
we need to plan for an extra couple hours in the vehicle. So we've got our smoothie that we take with us. Then we have to make sure we have lunch. And yes, I get the little thumbs up bubble. And then we also have to think about dinner too, because especially if we're going on like a super long hike, or we have a lot of driving to do on that day,
Mm.
we don't always want to make dinner when we get home. So having something ready, like sometimes we'll have like the tacos already ready to go, and we'll just make some tacos, or we just make that dill salad that we love because
Mm.
that's pretty easy to whip up. But we plan the day. So it's like, what are we going to eat for the smoothies? What are we going to take with us? Do we need to take our salad with us? Do we want to have dinner out at whatever park we're at, like lunch and dinner? Or what do we want to do? So we decide Friday night what to do. We decide what trail we're going to have. We decide what time we need to leave for it. And we decide what wraps to make because we usually take wraps with us. So those need to be started Friday night because then Saturday we can wrap it up before we go to bed. And then Sunday, the wraps are done. We just have to maybe blend a sauce, or we could even blend the sauce the night before on Saturday night, and we're done. We're good to go. We just
Mm.
have to make our smoothies, pack our packs, make sure we take water,
Mm.
and then think about dinner as well if we need to prepare anything the day before to do that. But that makes for a nice self-care Sunday because it, number one, teaches you self-discipline because you need to plan for it.
Mm.
But number two, it makes the self-care Sunday even more pampering because like your food has been prepared for you in a way, right? You prepared it for yourself, but you don't have to make it on self-care Sunday. You could just grab it and eat it and it's all good.
Best. It's the best. Yeah, and
Mm.
it's so cool too because sometimes you end up finding, you know, just different recipes that you want to make for that particular day that you don't necessarily make throughout the week. So it's another way to show yourself a little love is to make something special, which of course, plug for the bundle. We've got the raw vegan bundle going on right now. It's only here till Sunday midnight, I think, I think it's midnight, 11:59 p.m. PST on Sunday. It's over, but there's hundreds of recipes to be able to tap into, and that's something that we would find really nice to have for our self-care Sunday because we're not making these meals throughout the week. Typically, it's really easy to kind of be, I don't want to say necessarily stuck, but it's just easy to make the same thing over and over again. So to have something that you're making on the weekend like Self-Care Sunday. It's like you almost are looking forward to it, maybe getting those ingredients, like Lissa's saying, planning on Friday. You're coming home from work or whatever the case may be. You're getting those ingredients on Friday, doing a little prep work on Saturday. That way, Sunday, you don't even have to think about it. You've got something delicious that you've taken some time to make for yourself. And that right there just feels so good. It really tops the day off. Oh, man, definitely planning, having that plan is so huge. And again, Raw Vegan Bundle, great thing to be able to tap into. You can go to either one of our bios to grab it. It's an amazing deal. At least check it out, see what's inside. You're going to find, I don't mean, you could make a different recipe for like over a year, almost 2 years worth of recipes if you were to make a different recipe every single day. A lot of recipes, which of course, that could sound a little overwhelming, but you've got so much to choose from. And that really, really makes such a big difference, because after a nice day that you have been, say, hiking or whatever, out for your hike, maybe, like how Alyssa was saying, one day we did a hike and then we got back and we got, dressed up to go out to a show. Yeah, you don't really necessarily want to be thinking about, oh, what are we going to make for dinner? So that's a part of our particular regimen is, to figure out what we're going to have for that particular day. And of course, when we're doing hikes, a lot of times we just bring the wraps with us. Maybe we'll make some tacos, but the wraps are really, really delicious. But we also have been talking to each other like we need to really go hard on making some really delicious recipes, which this year's bundle is amazing. Like the stuff that I've been seeing you make, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had that this Sunday.
I know, right? Yeah, like Daniel's pizza with the green banana flour
Oh man,
looks so good.
looks so good.
And then I had Chris Kendall's banana wrap. It was like spicy.
Ooh.
It was pretty good, like really, really good. What else did I have? I had the Korean tacos.
Mm,
I had the breakfast
mm,
tacos. I had a bunch of really cool smoothies. Like I had this tomato orange smoothie and a berry antioxidant smoothie from Susanna.
mm.
I had our lemon lentil soup. I made
Yeah.
that. I made the gnocchi. I made
And
the
this,
Swedish
this,
meatball.
oh my gosh, so much good stuff. And the smoothies, that's something that's really, really interesting, because it can be really easy to just be stuck on, maybe two or three different kinds of smoothies. And I really like how there's some books dedicated for some smoothie recipes, because I find myself like I'll make smoothies for us, pretty much every morning. And I'm always kind of going back to the same ones. So it's nice to be able to tap in and to find some new ones. And of course, the best thing to do, of course, would be to make them over and over again, to where you don't even have to think about the recipe. You know exactly what you need to add into it. I know the last the last Raw Vegan bundle, there was some pretty awesome smoothie recipes to tap into. And that alone can really change the way that your day starts, not only Self-Care Sunday, but just every single day. Like I made us smoothies this morning, and it's just like, it feels so good to just start your day off with a smoothie.
Yeah, all that energy, all that fruit. Oh, so delicious.
So
Um,
delicious.
Someone was asking, how much would you say you guys spend on veg for a week of
Mm.
these recipes? It's really hard to say.
Yeah, probably like 200, maybe $200 a week for the two of us. 250 at most, at very most. That's if we're going hardcore. Maybe there's some seasonings that we don't have, because seasonings could be like $10 to $15 for like a bottle of seasoning, a special seasoning or something. But I would say it's probably right around there, like maybe $180 to $200 for the two of us for a week. So that's essentially $100 per person. Maybe like 75 to $80 you could probably do it with. But depending on where you're at,
Yeah.
right? There's going to be some places that are, certain produce things, items are going to be a bit more than other places. But I feel like, what do you think, babe?
Yeah, I would say it's roughly around there. Yeah, 200 is a pretty good number. And like you said, it depends on if we splurge on
Yeah,
like heirloom tomatoes.
right. Yeah.
Or it also depends on the season too. Like in August, I'm excited for August because La Bonita is gonna have their
Oh,
6 mangoes for $1.
it's the best.
But yeah, and it depends on where you shop. Like, I mean, one trip to Whole Foods is like,
Oh, it's crazy.
so
Yeah.
it depends on where you shop. It depends on if you get things bulk. It depends on the
Mhm.
season. It depends on if you live in a city or if you live
Yeah.
outside the city or what state you're in, or there's so many factors that come into play. If you eat all organic, or
Mm.
half and half, or you don't care,
Double,
or whatever, like it
double the
really
price.
depends. You
Yeah.
can easily like triple, quadruple it if you're
Yeah,
shopping at Whole
at
Foods.
least double.
Yeah.
Yeah, if everything was organic and you were going, or maybe, I mean, it would be amazing, of course, if life was just farmers markets are going on all the time every day. We love to support the farmers markets, but yeah, you're spending so much more on the farmers market, vegetables and different produce items there, which rightfully so. It's understandable. I mean, the individuals have to grow it. They've got to come down on their weekend. They have to dedicate their entire summer to going every single weekend to set up their booth. So you're paying for a lot more than just the actual produce. But yeah, it can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be expensive. And of course, I mean, if you're not eating 100% raw, it can definitely be a lot cheaper because beans and rice and oatmeal and potatoes and these sorts of items are really not very expensive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it depends also if you're getting like a lot of more like exotic stuff, like I
Mm.
mentioned, the heirloom tomatoes, or if you're getting like durians,
Oof. Yeah.
um, or you're splurging on those
Mm.
kinds of things. Whereas there's like some really inexpensive other fruit that you can get, like apples and bananas, and even though
Mm.
those can be boring, you can spruce them up a lot. Like
Yeah.
and I've told you this before in another live, but I have to make it for you. It's Chris Kendall's banana rice pudding,
Mm.
and it's bananas and there's fennel and there's some other stuff in it. But I just was like mind blown by how delicious
Mm.
it was. It was so fresh,
That
and
sounds good.
fairly inexpensive ingredients.
Yeah.
So it really depends.
Yeah, and I feel like Daniel has his book in there, and a lot of the ingredients that he's using they're also really. I mean, the recipes that he has are so incredibly amazing, but they're not real expensive. And of course, a lot of the stuff you're using just little bits, like you're buying, some bags of like say like the green banana powder, right? Big green banana flour or whatever it may be. Is it powder or flour? I don't know if it's
Powder, same.
yeah. But I mean, that kind of stuff lasts quite a long time.
Mhm.
Um, Frugivore Runner is asking in here, how much time does it take for prep work for these meals for a week? That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, it's the same as with any diet at all. Like cooked food, whole food, plant-based, whatever. I mean, it's going to be fast if you buy fast food, and it's going to be slow if you make it yourself. But it doesn't have to be like, I don't mean slow as in it's like hours and hours and hours. It's that like if you're making something at home, it's gonna take time. And for us, like we can make 2 salads with 2 dressings faster than you can make a box of macaroni and cheese. So there's that. But also, I think that time invested in the practice of making your food raw, you get better and better and better at it every single time. And then it just becomes second nature. You chop your lettuce the same way all the time. You chop you spiralize your cucumber and it's easy, or you get techniques that help with the prep so it goes a little faster. But when you were working at the hemp farm, that was probably one of my favorite times when it came to food prep, because I'd wake up with you in the morning and you'd be getting ready and I would be making all our food for the day, and literally all our food for the day. I would
Yeah.
blend 2 smoothies. I would make 2 lunch dressings, like it basically one dressing but a double batch. And I would make 2 dinner, same thing. And then I would chop all the vegetables that we
Yeah.
would need for both lunch and dinner for 4 salads. That's you, me, you, me. And we would just box it up, and I would put dinner for us in the fridge and my lunch in the fridge, and you would take your lunch and we'd have our smoothies. And all of that prep on average for the entire day for 2 people on average would take 45 to 60 minutes.
Yeah. So
do.
An hour, all your meals are made.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about, that's for, say, smoothies and salads,
Yeah.
which, of course, smoothies and salads as a raw foodie is the staple in so many ways to your lunch. And, of course, adding, more than just your standard, like lettuce, cucumber, tomato kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a little bit more time, like let's just say, 45 minutes to 60 minutes. But what about, like, when he was asking that question, I was thinking, like, maybe he's thinking, or they're thinking, some of these more elaborate meals, some of the things that we've been seeing within this bundle, and some of the stuff that you've been showcasing, and some of the other creators have been showcasing. I haven't been showcasing any food here, but how much time does it take to make some of those meals? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know there's definitely going to be some that are more in time intensive, but if you were to just kind of like average some of the time intensive ones to some of the more simple ones, what do you think it would take?
Again, it depends on the recipe. Like the gnocchi recipe definitely takes more time. Like that one's a good hour to an hour and a half because you're rolling each gnocchi by hand.
Right.
But that's the same with traditional gnocchi too. That's an all-day affair for traditional, wheat pasta, potato pasta, right? Like it takes all day to make. And that's interesting. Like I see a lot of reels on Instagram where people are making like these like homemade apple pies and they're decorating them and they're making these like amazing things. And I know that those take like 4 hours to do.
Yeah.
Right. So for these recipes, for example, the pizza didn't take very long. Like it was probably just to make the crust was maybe like 10 minutes. I put everything into the food processor, blended it into a flour, and then molded it into the pizza crust and got it in the dehydrator before I even started the day.
Yeah.
So it was already in there like, 10 minutes before. For the burger patties that I made some burger patties and I crumbled one of them on the pizza. And to make 4 burger patties, that was another 10, maybe 15 minutes to blend them and then mold them into the patties. So I got both of those done first thing in the morning. And then it's like 5 minutes to blend my smoothie, maybe 5 minutes to mix the tomato sauce, another 5 minutes to chop the veggies that go on the pizza. And then, and then I put it in the dehydrator for an hour. So really that pizza really only took like 20 minutes to make, but it's like throughout the day, there's like these little 5-minute things throughout the day that you do to make the pizza.
Right.
25 minutes to do that. But like even cooked meals or the average standard meal, like 20 to 30 minutes is typically an average amount of time.
Sure.
It's just that you're dealing with different ingredients and different techniques, and you just need to plan a little bit more to be able to do it. Like the wraps, for example, I saw, did he say like for your wraps, nice cream's easy, easy peasy, like 2 minutes and it's ready. But for the wraps, for example, the wraps I personally feel are some of the fastest things to make. Even though they look super complicated, they're actually not. And it was funny, earlier this week, I did the mistake of reading some reviews on Amazon for the hand salads book. And there was this one person who said like, oh, they're so intricate and there's so many ingredients and it's going to take forever, all day to make these. And I'm like, it only takes 15 minutes max to blend up 2 wraps, which makes 4 halves. And if you stuff them really full, like I can only eat half, really. I mean, I have eaten a whole wrap multiple times, but those ones aren't as full. When you stuff them really good and you've got like a patty in there and sauce, like you fill up really fast. So 4 meals in 15 minutes just to make the wraps. And then it takes roughly, like once the ingredients are chopped, it takes about 2 to 4 minutes to fill and roll 1 wrap. So when it boils down to it, like all the little things, it doesn't take that long. It's just people feel overwhelmed because they see a list of ingredients and they're like, no, I'm not going to do it. That's going to take forever. Or they're like, oh, I have to start this 12 hours before.
Right.
It's like, well,
I think that's the part that really kind of, messes with people's minds is, oh, that has to be in the dehydrator for 6 hours. So they count that as like 6 hours. You're just, peeling potatoes or something. No, like it's in the dehydrator. You don't even have to worry about it. I would say on average, the average meal, like even a pretty intricate meal, is around 30 to 40 minutes. There's going to be some that are going to be an hour prep time. Of course, maybe something has to dehydrate through the night. Maybe you're condensing like a sauce in the dehydrator that has to go all night long. Essentially, though, from my experience making some of these recipes, it's essentially like 30 to 40 minutes. And you have that particular meal made. Now, of course, if you're doubling it, which is kind of a smart thing to do, some of the things you can actually double, like the pizza is great. Like, might as well make a double batch. Who doesn't like cold pizza the next day or whatever, right? You know, the wraps, like how Lissa's saying, you know, you make a double batch, you spend a little extra time, and then you don't have to spend that time the next day to make the same thing over again if you want it. So it's so interesting though, because it's a whole different way to prep food in a way, but it's not at the same time. I mean, you're still prepping food. You just go about things a little differently. Like how Alyssa was saying, you know, spiralizing, peeling, these sorts of things. If you know kind of the steps of what to do first, it can go pretty smooth. It can go pretty quick, but it does take a little time. Like, you really have to make a recipe, I would say, like at least 4 or 5 times to kind of really dial it in to where you're like, oh, I can make this so much faster than I did my first time. Because the first time, let's face it, like no matter who we are, what recipe we're tapping into, it's going to take some time because you're like, oh my gosh, do I even have that? I need to run to the store. I need to get this particular thing. And you're reading the recipe and you're trying to envision the steps. And if the recipe is written correctly, it should be pretty fast. That's what I love.
A lot of the recipes that I've been making from the bundle have been actually really easy, like pretty good. Basically just blending, waiting, planning.
Yeah.
Right. Like, for example, I'm going to be tomorrow demoing the biryani recipe that's in not meal plan, the Make It Raw Volume 3 that's in the bundle. And that biryani calls for bloomed black rice. So yesterday morning, I took 1 minute and I poured the rice in the jar and I filled it with water.
So wait,
and I'm
pause real quick right there. Yeah. What is this bloomed black rice for those people who don't even know what you're just talking about? Like, what is this? What is it all about? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so it's not actually a rice, so to speak. It's like a seed. And I've, in my past, tried many different kinds of wild rice and other black rice and stuff, and it just doesn't bloom the same. And I remember when we had our friends visiting Ocean and bless you, Victoria, they had the same issues where it's like you have to put the rice in your food processor and nick it a little bit. But with the black forbidden rice, specifically from Lotus Foods, that one, you don't have to do anything to. Like, you just add the water and it sucks up the water and blooms. Like, it kind of like goes, like it opens up. Pops. And so it's like considered raw or what have you. And it's a really filling, nice option to add to salads. I put it in my wraps the other day.
Good. It is so good.
Yeah.
Lotus Foods. You guys, if you go look it up, it's also in our Amazon store. If you go, I don't think we have that linked in our bio right now, but you could do an Amazon search and you could look up Lotus Foods Black Forbidden Rice. And like Lissa says, you just soak it overnight. I mean, of course,
I like 72 hours.
72 hours. I was going to say it's more like at least like 48 hours. But yeah, 72 hours is great. If you can rinse the water, even better. But, you know, because the water's going to turn kind of purple a little bit. But it's amazing because when it's done, of course, it's cold, you know, I mean, room temperature because it's sitting on the counter, right, in a bowl. But it's amazing because it's rice that you didn't have to cook. But you have to think ahead. You have to be like, oh, I want to make this particular recipe this weekend. Say if it's for Self-Care Sunday, then you need to soak that rice like Thursday night. Right.
Exactly. And I feel over time, you get used to that. Like, but when I first went raw, it was confused. Like, I was like, oh, I wanted to have this cashew dressing for dinner. And at dinner time, the cashews aren't soaked.
You're like, oh, right.
So I learned early on that if I plan out the meals for the day, I can just fit in these little tiny, like 1-minute things throughout my day so that I have the stuff ready when I need it. Because, you know, like you said, people think they're like peeling the potatoes for the whole 6 hours that they're waiting for the nuts to soak. But it feels overwhelming because we see 6 hours in a narrow view. All we see is 6
soak
hours.
For 8 hours. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take so long. Yeah, unless you're actually reading the recipe. Yeah, and like you're saying, you know, the more that we do it, the more that you know, like, hey, I love having bloomed rice, so it's nice just to always have bloomed rice going. It's always nice to have sprouts sprouting. So, when the jar is getting empty, we're sprouting some more. So they're always on the counter to be able to grab from. Yeah, because those are the things to add in. But I know it's so simple. Raw food, making raw food recipes and having raw food as the staple for our diets. It's really, really a simple process. It's really clean, easy to clean up. You're not having to scrub or soak pots and pans or anything like that. Like really just a little, warm soapy water, rinse and dry. Sometimes, a lot of times, we just literally like rinse. I might wipe it out. I always use a little bit of, a little bit of soap or whatever on a rag and wipe them out. But I know it's just makes it so nice, so easy. But yeah, anyway, so go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm wondering, like, people are like, oh, wait, what's this black rice? So back to your story there.
Oh, so I think I was talking about making the black rice for the recipes. And it's just about planning it in advance. So because I want to make these recipes live with people, I want to have the ingredients ready to go. But I've noticed for myself that when you want to have something, like, that's where the planning happens. You have a plan and then you backtrack and you're like, okay, well, if I need to soak my cashews first thing in the morning, I like to put little notifications in my calendar. So, like, for example, yesterday when I was looking at my lives for the day, it said 11 a.m. soak rice. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta do that. So at 11 a.m. I soaked the rice. So putting little reminders in your phone for your plan can really be helpful if that's something that you like really resonate with. Like if you're in your calendar every day, at least you can see that. Another tip that I have is if you're planning your meals the night before and you're like, oh, well, tomorrow night I want to make, or say Saturday night, we want to make the chickpea mash, but they want to soak the chickpeas or whatever. Put in your phone an alarm to go off at certain times to do certain things, like, rinsing or changing the water or getting them soaked or putting them in the freezer or whatever it is. Any of the steps that you need, just put a little alarm. Soak cashews. Put an alarm in your phone. So as soon as the alarm goes off, you drop what you're doing and you go soak cashews. It only takes 30 seconds.
Yeah. And these kinds of things can actually be done no matter what kind of job you have.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just
like
planning.
It's just planning. Yeah, you could bring the jar with you. You could bring the cashews with you. Say you're working a 9 to 5 at a brick and mortar space. You just bring that stuff with you. Maybe it's not a glass jar, but I mean, glass, of course, is going to be best to be soaking stuff in, just to be careful not to like break your glass, right? But yeah, soak it. What's cool with, like, say, soaking cashews for a dressing or whatever is you can soak them the night before. And in the morning, you could rinse and drain them and put them in the fridge. And then when you get home, you're ready to blend it up. Or you could soak it first thing in the morning. And then when you get home, you just rinse and drain and you're ready to blend up, say if it's for like a cashew based dressing. But it's things like that it really does take, the forethought. Just kind of like for the self-care Sunday, you're like, all right, we're going to be doing something amazing this Sunday. Where are we going to hike? How long is this hike? What are we going to need to bring? Because, we want to bring water. We want to bring food. These sorts of things. It's so interesting how little we as a society kind of like take planning into our lives. Like we're not really planning for. I don't feel that a lot of people on a global scale are really planning for their meals. It's just kind of winging it.
Yeah.
Just we'll stop and grab something like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten in 6 hours. Let's go drive through somewhere and grab something. Or what are we going to have for dinner tonight? And it's like dinner time,
Right.
like.
Yeah, that's what I notice a lot with my coaching. And over the last 10 years coaching people, I would say near 100% of the people that I've asked, I think it's only been a handful of people who already had the answer to this question, but every single person that I've asked this question to does not have an answer for it. I will ask them, I will say, what have you planned to eat today for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Almost all of them say, I don't know. They're just winging it. They're making choices based in the moment. And we're so used to making choices based in the moment because we are so used to having stuff available in the moment. Like we can just go to the store. Like I could walk downstairs and there's like hundreds of restaurants all around here. I could just go in and order something and it would be there for me magically, right? Like we're so used to that the thought of making our own stuff or planning our day or doing all of that is so overwhelming because we're so used to the instant kind of gratification. Plus it tastes amazing and all that other stuff. So it's like easier to gravitate towards that. But you're right. Like I feel like planning in a way is the boring thing, right? It's like consistency and balance and all of the boring stuff, right? People don't want to plan. They're like, or they think they can plan in their head. They just think about it. They don't really like write it down or actually give it quality thought. And it's one thing to plan, but it's another thing to schedule, right? Like we can have these lofty goals like, yeah, I'm going to eat this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm going to make this big thing or whatever. But if you don't schedule it into your day, how's it going to get done?
Yeah. Yeah, I love the alarm trick. That's a really good one. Setting the alarm so you know, like, oh, I've got this to do. Because the day can slip by. Yep. So what has been one of your favorite recipes that you've made so far from the bundle? Because I've seen some amazing stuff that you and other people are making. I really am like so bummed that I'm not home to help you eat all this.
I know. I miss you. I wish you were eating it with me. Okay, so some of my favorites. I'm a little biased, but the Swedish meatballs from Make It Raw 3 are just like, oh my gosh. I just eat, like I make a side salad and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a little side salad and then some meatballs, and I just like end up eating all the meatballs and then I eat the salad after. But they're like so good. The gnocchi is another biased recipe that I'm like, I love
Now,
the gnocchi.
what are the Swedish meatballs made with again? What's the base of them?
So there's some mushroom, there's Irish moss,
Because
there's
they're pretty light. They're not like super heavy.
yeah, they're lower, they're on the lower fat end. So they're really nice. But the Irish moss and there's sprouted oat flour in them as well. So they're a really unique recipe, and I've made them before, like before meeting you. I used to play around with some Swedish meatballs because me and other people would go to IKEA and we would always get the Swedish meatballs there, and it was like one of my favorite things to eat there. So I always wanted to make one raw and vegan. But the ones that I made in the past were kind of and I think I tried a couple recipes, maybe while you were at work or something. Like I've tried a couple times, but I just haven't been able to get it until now.
Until now.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. And Raw Chef Yin tried that recipe, and she's like, it is so on point. She's like, it's so good. The gravy has that like graviness to it.
Yeah.
Like you know how gravy is kind of like, I don't want to say jelly, but it's it's got that kind of jelliness.
It's like oily and creamy.
Yeah.
Kinda. Yeah.
Or like jello-y from like typical gravies made. There's like collagen or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of got that texture in it too. Mostly from like there's a little tiny bit of psyllium, just enough to give it that texture.
Yeah.
But I really worked with the flavors to be on point. But I also really liked Daniel's pizza. I really liked the Korean tacos, the Korean cauliflower tacos. I loved Raw Chef Yin's Korean barbecue. Let me tell you, we need to make that when we move into our new place and have a nice Korean barbecue.
Let's do that. That'll be we could have that be the first meal that we make.
That would be fun. Yeah, that's going to be a really good one. I love her sauces. She's got such unique flavors.
Super good sauces.
Oh, so good. And I used, like, there was sauces left over, obviously, and I used some of those sauces in my salads. Like, I just mixed them in the salad. So delicious. But yeah, there's been some amazing recipes, and I've been loving it up over here. I really wish you were here.
I know. Me too. My gosh. Well, only 2 days.
Oh, we lost you for a second. Oh, yeah, you did for a second. That's okay.
Whoop.
How were the
Okay, cool.
waffles? So I didn't get a chance.
Yeah, the
I didn't get a
raffles.
chance to make the waffles. I didn't get a chance to. I
Mm.
got the molds, but the day just disappears, and I didn't get a
Oh,
chance to make
and
them.
I found some molds too. So we have molds.
Yeah, I got some waffle
Okay,
molds.
the ones that I found here, the silicone, they're pretty deep. They're like deep ones.
Ooh, bring them
And
home.
I was like, ooh, maybe we need some raffle molds. But
Yeah,
you know, if you already have some, we're
no,
good.
bring those ones because I think they might be better than the ones that I
Okay,
have.
they
Yeah.
look so good. Oh my gosh, I'm excited to make those too. I know I've been eating so simply. I've been just having smoothies. I have been having some cooked stuff up here as well, but it's basically just like smoothies and salads, and steamed veggies. I have been doing some Instapot, wild rice as well. But because we've just been working, I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat something. Same kind of thing. I haven't been planning. I haven't been like the food for me has not even been on my data bank necessarily, and I'm definitely super jealous seeing all the stuff that you're making. It looks so good.
I know. I can't wait for you to come home and we can move into our new place and we can
Mm,
make all the food together again.
I know.
It's
I'm so
gonna be
looking forward
great.
to that. I know it's
Mhm.
pretty wild. Yeah, we'll be basically, because it's been nonstop going around here, cleaning up every nook and cranny, getting the property ready to get on the market. And yeah, moving there's a lot of stuff to do. And I'm like, oh man, as soon as I get home, it's basically the same thing. All right, let's start moving. So,
I
but hey,
know.
I'm excited. I'm glad that we're getting it all. I mean, we're super blessed to be able to move.
Mhm.
And it should be a really easy move because we're moving just a couple floors down. So that's really awesome.
I
But
know.
it'll
That
be,
is going to make it so much easier because we can, and
yeah,
plus we have like 3 weeks
yeah,
to move. So
it's going
we've
to be
got
so awesome.
time. I'm just gonna take this downstairs right
Yeah,
away. Like
right.
it's not gonna be that big of a
Yeah,
craziness,
it's
but and
going to be
we'll
great.
pack some stuff and unpack some stuff.
I can't
It's
wait to
gonna
be
be fun.
making some
Like,
stuff in the new kitchen. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
new kitchen.
So good. So good. Well, so any last tips or tricks that we didn't cover that you'd want to share about Self Care Sunday?
I would just say make a choice right now to choose a day, any day of the week that works for you. And even if it's only half a day, choose a time where you can spend some time with yourself and with your loved ones once a week at least, and make it kind of like not a challenge, but like aim for it as much as you possibly can. And we know life happens. For example, you're in Oregon and we haven't been able to spend these days, the Sundays together like we usually do. But regardless, like whenever you can make those days, make them, because I don't know, like we're only here for a short time, and especially like with your parents passing, and I've had so many people reach out and say some of their loved ones have passed, and like I don't know, like our mortality is kind of like in your face a little bit with us right now. So facing that and seeing that is like we're only here for a short time, and why not enjoy the time that we have together and do the things that we really say we want to be doing, right? Like why are we, spending our day off scrolling or whatever it is, but yeah, like actually planning the day, and I think getting up early and having a packed day of all your absolute favorite things to do really makes you look forward to those days. Like I will, like you were like, we'll go in the hot tub in the morning, we'll have our favorite smoothie, and then we'll go for our hike, and then we have our favorite wraps, and maybe
Best.
we watch our favorite show with our favorite salad. We do our skincare with our favorite products, and like everything is our favorite.
Yeah,
We wear our favorite clothes, so it's like it becomes a favorite day.
right. The favorite day.
Favorite.
Absolutely. Well, thanks
Yeah,
for
like
that.
somebody could be like, maybe Friday's their day off. It could be the favorite Friday.
Mm. Yeah, favorite Friday. The
Favorite
thankful
Friday.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
exactly.
wonderful Wednesday.
Yes. Transformative Tuesday.
Yes.
We'll
So
have to think
now
of one for Monday so it's not left out.
maybe somebody's tuning in who doesn't really know where to find you, and you know, I mean, obviously we're Instagram, they can just tap and go to your page or whatever, but you know, how can other people, you know, contact you if they've got some questions or, you know, want to give you some thanks and praises?
Oh. Instagram is the best place. So Raw Food Romance here on Instagram. You can also watch YouTube videos at Lissa's Raw Food Romance. And I'm going to be, like I said, posting the Self-Care Sunday video, what I eat in a day from the bundle. I'll post that as soon as we get off our live. And you can comment on YouTube, but the replies are harder to get back to. So if somebody has any questions or what have you, Instagram is the best place. I like live on Instagram. So.
Awesome.
Oh.
So good. So good. Well, thanks for hanging out and, you know, talking about how amazing Self-Care Sunday is for us, and inspiring those to, you know, get into planning more and thinking about their days of what they're going to eat, because man, it is so important.
Yeah, it really is.
It is so important.
It really is. Oh, thanks, babe.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I love you.
You.
I'll talk to you here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye,
I
guys.
love everybody. Bye.